help people recognize, reframe, and reset.
Do you want to tell that story? I'll let you tell that story. Hence the On Your Mind podcast. Welcome back to the On Your Mind podcast. I'm so excited to welcome our special guest today, Marissa Heyl. Marissa is the founder of Inclusive Wellness Design, and she was actually named a top creative entrepreneur in DFW by Dallas Innovates. She and I connected over our shared love of brain health and well-being, and Marissa actually specializes in making spaces brain healthy. So she works with people to help make their homes more brain health friendly. She works with corporations to help them make their workspaces come alive for brain health. And Marissa, I'm just so grateful you're here to dive into this topic of neurodesign with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and what I love that you did, so she literally came in to our set today with a variety of props and even had us move the flowers over here to create this beautiful space to film our podcast. Marissa, can you start off by telling us just how would you define neurodesign? What is that for our listeners?
Sure. It's a really new field that's looking at the intersection of neuroscience and our environments. So how the built environment can actually support our brain health. So I really think that when we dive into it, we can unlock our greatest potential. And I'm especially interested in creating corporate spaces to encourage well-being and connection.
That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you got into this work? What led you to start your company?
Yes, it's a great question. My mother was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's a few years ago at the age of 66. And it's on my dad's side as well. My uncle recently got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so it's on both sides of the family. And it frankly terrifies me. And I got really interested in trying to understand how, as a designer, I could create spaces that promote cognitive health, looking at prevention, not just kind of when you're at this stage, trying to stave off further kind of downward spiraling. For lack of a better term, that's a lot of what dementia and Alzheimer's feels like. And I started going to the Center for Brain Health and really learned, and actually my first event that I went to was the Art of Brain Health event. It was really incredible to learn about the intersection of art and brain health and how intertwined they are. And I'm really interested in exploring this intersection of science and art because I think it unlocks so much. I also was going through a tough personal time navigating a divorce. I had just opened a brick and mortar store as well. And this was a few months before COVID. So timing was not optimal. And I think we really started to talk about mental health in a more open way and as a country. And so I wanted to really explore how mental health and wellness could be something that we democratize access to, because the more that we have this embedded into our spaces, not just as a lovely kind of spa experience that a few select of us who can afford it can go to, and it's embedded into our shared spaces. That's what I'm really interested in.
How beautiful, Marissa, that you've been able to take your background and your passion for design and creativity. I love, here I am wearing all black, which my son tells me is like my uniform. He's like, both my moms wear all black. You show up in this beautiful, vibrant pink dress. And I know you, I know how creative and joyful you are. And that just exudes from you. And taking this passion for art and then being so impacted by your family experiences, that's so tough to have relatives with Alzheimer's, especially, I mean, and that, you know, for a lot of our clients at Mastermind, that kind of wakes them up to, oh my gosh. And you look at the research and just to your point, you know, dementia starts 20 to 30 years before symptoms show up. It really matters what we do now. And to think that things like the spaces we're in, especially shared spaces, so it's really democratizing brain health for all, thinking about our environment. I love that you took your background and your expertise in design and thought, how can I use this passion and art and creativity and help people with their brain health without them even having to try, right? Because it's just embedded in the spaces that we're in.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazing. Well, I would love to hear a little bit more about how you bring a sense of joy into the work that you do. And even if you want to talk about a specific project, you mentioned corporate spaces that you've renovated, if you want to share kind of a before and after journey with us of a project you've undertaken.
Sure. And the more research that I do into this field, the more I think it's important to create different zones. We call them flourishing zones. So thinking about how humans, the kind of accommodations that we need throughout the workday. And so we need spaces for focus, for mindfulness, for break time, which is really important. Also for inspiration and innovation and creativity and social bonding. So these are the kind of the specialized flourishing zones that we're working on at our firm. And I think what resonates most with corporate leaders is this need for spaces for rest and reset because there's a trend of burnout. And I think there's a clear correlation between folks who are feeling stressed and needing a space to decompress. And so, yes, that is something that's really important. And that's what, so I'll speak about some of those projects, but I also think it's really important to create spaces, especially in hybrid work environments, that create connection, that build trust, where we can co-ideate together on something new, because there's a lot of new like neuroplasticity that's built in those kind of more activated environments. So to kind of talk about the recharge flourishing zone, this is a rest and reset space that is intended to rewire the brain and to create a space for rest. And these are all multisensory as well. So I'll be talking a little bit, not just about visuals and beautiful things, but things that our body and brain really need. And so that oftentimes doesn't look exactly like what the fanciest interior designers will put together. And it looks maybe a little bit more like Meow Wolf, but like more tamed. So one space that we did is in Addison at the Meeting Place, which is a co-working space. And we transformed a kind of a little bit of a chaotic office space into a treehouse that also had a reading nook. So the owner really wanted to have a calm reading space, but we wanted to have low lighting. That's really important. You'll hear me talking about neurodivergent design accommodations. That's really important as well. So we want quiet. We want to mitigate sound. But we want to bring nature indoors. So we made this a very immersive experience that feels like you're in a treehouse and getting to be a little bit of a kid again, but still feeling a bit elevated. So it's, if you've been to, like I like to say, we bring the experience of Meow Wolf with Miraval, which is this beautiful wellness resort in Austin. So like creating these spaces for adults to play and to relax. And so that's the space there. We have like rocks and all kinds of interesting materials and textures, scents and sounds in that space. And then another interesting project we did is a Zen lounge at Satori Capital, which is a VC firm in Fort Worth. And we they had a new build, and we had a small room that they wanted to dedicate for massages and other kind of just calming spaces. And we took what was a concrete room with a large pillar in the middle, and we decided to wrap a tree around that and create almost like a weeping willow kind of look, and a constellation projector. We had cork flooring. We brought in a water fountain to create that sound of running water. We brought in preserved plants and a kinetic sculpture that we mounted onto the wall. We also mounted Tibetan singing bowls on the wall. So it looks like a piece of art, all of these pieces, but you're actually prompted to interact with it. And then that's also stimulating for the brain. It's still calming, but we need a little degree of stimulation, especially those of us who are neurospicy, as we'll say. We need a little bit of that to help calm us down as well. So we've got a lot of great feedback from folks using these rooms. They've doubled as migraine rooms and spaces for people to really just calm their their anxiety, their heart rate, blood pressure. We've done some research on that too, using biometric tools, and interested to dive into more of that moving forward.
Wow. These beautiful projects. I mean, it makes me feel relaxed even just hearing you describe the different water features and nature elements. And I love to hear the feedback that it's helping folks measurably and also in unexpected ways, like if they're suffering with a migraine, that you're creating that sanctuary space. So I'm sure at this point, our listeners are probably wondering, how can I do this? Marissa, tell me what I need in my own home. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back and give folks some tangible tips to take this idea of neurodesign into their own spaces. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube page at Dorsey Standish for all episodes of On Your Mind. And follow me on social media at Dorsey Standish. All right, so Marissa, if our listeners are anything like me, they're looking around their space right now and thinking, okay, how do I put these tips into action? So let's go through your top 5 tips for making our homes, our workspaces more brain healthy. Your first tip is to bring nature indoors.
Yes. I'll just touch on a high level on these, but I speak about this frequently. So if you want to get more in depth, just reach out on my website. Bringing nature indoors. This can look like not just bringing plants indoors more, but think about multi-sensory elements. Are there essential oils that are like wood inspired, scents and soundscapes, a water fountain, things like that can really make a big difference in reducing anxiety.
Beautiful. So making nature come alive to all of your senses, which I think ties into number 2, which is to create a sensory toolkit for calming.
Yes. I find this really helpful as a mobile kit that you can bring with you when you travel. And it is comprised of whatever helps you to feel more calm and out of your head and into your body. Mm-hmm. So that could be a little ball that has like a felt ball that has a scent in it. Some fidget spinners or clay or a squeezy ball, even just naturescapes that you can play when you're on the plane, all has a big impact. And just have that readily available, even at your nightstand or your office as well.
Beautiful. Number 3 is to sprinkle joy throughout.
Yes, I love the field of aesthetics of joy, and there's a lot of research in that. I'm just going to touch on a high level. I think this is also very personal. So don't think about what all the trends are. What are some mementos? It could be your kids drawing from school, a photograph from a great vacation you went on. It could be a ceramic bowl that your grandmother had. I brought little milagros from a great trip that I had in Mexico. And I keep that in a space where I see it every day, and it's a reminder that brings me joy.
Beautiful. Number 4 is to use environmental cues to shape healthy habits.
Yes. So James Clear, who wrote the book Atomic Habits, talks about that the environment is the invisible hand that shapes behavior. So we want to de-incentivize things that we want to break, habits we want to break, and to incentivize new habit formation. So if, for instance, you want to stop eating unhealthy foods, you can hide those further back in the cabinet. If you want to play your guitar more, then mount it onto a wall and make it part of your decor where you're going to see it and access it more easily.
Beautiful and so simple. I love that. Number 5 is to make time and space for creativity.
Yes. So this is really tapping into that intersection of art and brain health. And we are all creative. So some of us may say, oh, I can't do that. One of my favorite tools is a Buddha board, which you can get even on Amazon. And you don't have to be a great painter, but you can, you're painting with water and it dissipates after 30 seconds or so. So you can really let go. It's the art of letting go is their tagline. So there's some tools that can really help you get creative, even if you don't identify as a creative person, because there's so much science behind that. The more that we move, we create music, we paint, we journal or create poetry, that creates new neural pathways in the brain.
Yeah, and it's an incredible way to relieve stress too. It's a great preventer of burnout if we're regularly creatively expressing ourselves, getting those emotions and thoughts out. So I love to hear that. I actually have a Buddha board in my office that I'm going to have to bust out after our conversation.
Love it.
So beautiful. Marissa, as I'm listening to you talk, a lot of the content we have on this podcast is all about, okay, how can I live for better brain health? And I know that topic is deeply important to you and your family. And what I'm hearing from you today is that perhaps the one thing folks can do is think about one habit or emotion they want to cultivate more of in their lives, and then think, how can I make this an obvious part of my physical space? Is that buying a diffuser for my office? Is that a candle? Is that a stress ball to play with? What's one thing that I can add to my space that will encourage this new healthy habit?
Yes, totally. It doesn't have to cost much. Please don't buy into too many of the trends. It's really just a personal journey, and it can be nostalgic. I mean, I would really encourage you to do some inner reflection to then know what you want to purchase or cultivate.
Yeah, you make such a good point that it literally be free. It might be an old family photo you pull out of an album, which I did last night, and I stuck it up on our kitchen wall in our rental place, right? It's like, yes, I love this picture. I want this memory here. So it doesn't have to cost a lot. It does require getting in touch with yourself and then making that one intentional choice in your space. And maybe that's little by little, one per week or one space per month that you start to cultivate and really make it into a thriving spot for brain health.
Yeah, totally.
To learn more about our guest, neurodesigner Marissa Heyl, check out her website, inclusivewellnessdesign.com. And you can join me in following her on Instagram at inclusivewellnessdesign. As we start to wrap up this conversation, I want to ask you about one thing that really struck me when I heard you speak last year, which is this idea of sensorial hunger. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, it's fascinating. When we live and work in sparse environments or sterile environments, it actually acts as an anesthetic and numbs our senses to the point where we crave any kind of engagement with our senses. So we're starving for that. And so we compensate by literally eating more, and we crave calorie-rich foods. So if we want to lose weight, just add in some more plants and art and you're good.
I love that. I'm like thinking right behind you is our snack jar in the office and all the different snacks we have there. So what you're saying is we could add a moss wall, we could add some other background noise, maybe a diffuser in the kitchen, and that would help us feel more satiated and connected with our environment.
Exactly. And you have healthy snacks readily available and a little bit more visible than the other unhealthy snacks. So you guys are already queuing for those healthy habits.
I'm the one that put the chocolate in the cabinet after our conversation.
Amazing. Yes.
So already incorporating this. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Marissa. This is just fascinating to me personally and professionally. For folks that want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, do you have an in-person offering coming up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes, I'm actually working with a team of neuroscientists and designers to create an Art of Connection exhibit that's going to be traveling around different locations in Dallas. So our kickoff is at the Oak Cliff Art Walk in October. So that's October 4th. So come see us at that space. And we're in final conversations with another great venue that might have been mentioned earlier, but it's not public yet. So we have to stay tuned for that. Also encourage folks to visit us at inclusivewellnessdesign.com to get in touch and learn more.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Marissa, for your time today. This has been a wonderfully enriching conversation, and we even have this beautiful sensory stimuli here to support us.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
If you'd like to learn more about how to book Dorsey Standish for a speaking engagement or company training, you can learn more at dorseystandish.com.